You woke up in the early hours with that unexplainable weight on your chest, looked over and saw your family sleeping, but something inside you whispered, "What if I can't protect them?" This thought that visits you in the quiet hours, this worry that grows when you see the news, when you realize the world is becoming more dangerous, when you feel invisible forces trying to touch what you love most. Today, I've come to give you the most powerful spiritual weapons that exist to shield your home, your family, and everyone you love. I know the pain of those who love and therefore fear. I know the anguish of those who look at their children and think, how will I protect them from everything out there? I know the silent despair of those who realize there are invisible attacks happening, that there's a real spiritual warfare trying to destroy homes, separate families, make bodies sick, confuse minds. But today you'll discover that God hasn't left you defenseless. He placed in the scriptures 7 psalms that are true spiritual bombs against all evil. If you've come this far, it wasn't by chance. Your spirit is crying out for real protection, for divine authority, for a shield that no forces of darkness can penetrate. These 7 psalms I'm about to reveal are more than words. They're divine decrees that, when declared with faith, mobilize heavenly armies, close spiritual gaps, and create an atmosphere of supernatural protection around your entire family. Don't make the mistake of thinking this is an exaggeration. The Bible clearly says, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world." The battle is real, the forces are real, but God's power is infinitely superior. And today, you'll learn how to use this power strategically and devastatingly against any work of evil. The first Psalm, Psalm 91, the unshakable fortress. He that dwells in the secret place of the Most High shall abide under the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God, in Him will I trust. This is the psalm of absolute protection, the one that makes all hell tremble when declared with authority. Every word of this psalm is a spiritual wall rising around your home. When you declare that you dwell in the secret place of the Most High, you're announcing that your family is no longer exposed to the enemy's attacks, but hidden in God's presence. I've seen families being destroyed by unexplainable illnesses, by accidents in sequence, by fights without reason. And when they started declaring Psalm 91 every day over their homes, the atmosphere completely changed. Evil can no longer touch where this psalm is declared with faith. Surely he shall deliver you from the snare of the fowler, and from the noisome pestilence. He shall cover you with his feathers, and under his wings shall you trust. His truth shall be your shield and buckler. See the promise. God personally takes responsibility for your protection. He covers you with his feathers, hides you under his wings. Your family is no longer exposed, but protected by God himself. When you declare this, you're activating divine protection over every member of your household. You shall not be afraid for the terror by night, nor for the arrow that flies by day, nor for the pestilence that walks in darkness, nor for the destruction that wastes at noonday. This includes every form of attack, nighttime fears that visit your children, anxieties that attack during the day, illnesses trying to settle in, accidents that could happen. Everything gets blocked when you declare this psalm over your family. 1,000 shall fall at your side, and 10,000 at your right hand, but it shall not come near you. This is the most powerful promise. While others are struck by evil, your family remains untouched. Not by luck, not by chance, but because you've learned to use the authority God gave you. If you want to see this protection manifested over your home, write in the comments, "My family dwells in the shelter of the Most High and is protected from all evil." Keep listening, because the second psalm will give you authority to expel any evil force that has already managed to enter your home. The second psalm, Psalm 18, the devastating deliverance. I called upon the Lord, who is worthy to be praised, and I was saved from my enemies. This is the psalm of violent deliverance against the forces of darkness. When you declare this psalm, you are not just asking for protection, you are commanding that all evil that has already entered your home be expelled immediately. It is the psalm of offensive spiritual warfare. I know families who are being tormented by spirits of division, constant fights, children rebelling without reason, strange illnesses that doctors couldn't diagnose. When they began using Psalm 18 as a weapon of spiritual warfare, declaring it with authority and holy indignation, things changed quickly. The Lord is my rock, my fortress, and my deliverer, my God, my strength, in whom I trust, my shield, the strength of my salvation, and my high refuge. When your family is under attack, you need to know that you have an unshakable rock to lean on. God is not just your protector, He is your active deliverer. He doesn't just defend, He attacks the darkness that dared to touch your family. In my distress I called upon the Lord and cried to my God. He heard my voice from His temple, and my cry came before Him, even into His ears. God hears every silent cry of despair when you see your family being attacked. Every tear shed in secret, every prayer whispered in the early hours, every moment you felt alone in the battle. He heard everything, and today is answering through this revelation. Then the earth shook and trembled, the foundations of the hills also moved and were shaken, because He was angry. When you cry out with true faith, God's wrath is kindled against those who dare to touch your family. The spiritual structures of evil tremble, principalities retreat, demonic strongholds shatter. Smoke went up from His nostrils and devouring fire from His mouth. Coals were kindled by it. God's fire descends to burn every evil work that tried to establish itself in your home. Nothing remains of what the enemy built when the divine fire is activated through your declaration of faith. He sent from above, He took me. He drew me out of many waters. He delivered me from my strong enemy and from those who hated me, for they were too strong for me. Even when the attacks seem greater than your ability to resist, God reaches out and pulls you out of every situation that seemed impossible. Your family will be delivered from enemies that seemed invincible. If you are facing attacks on your family and want to see deliverance, declare in the comments, "The Lord is my rock and delivers my family from every enemy." But don't stop here, because the third Psalm will give you the power to break generational curses that may be affecting your family for generations. The third Psalm, Psalm 109, Breaking Family Curses. God of my praise, do not be silent, for the mouth of the wicked and the mouth of the deceitful are opened against me. They have spoken against me with a lying tongue. This is the psalm that breaks every evil word spoken against your family, every curse cast out of envy, every sentence of failure decreed over your descendants. When entire generations face the same problems, poverty, divorce, infirmity, addictions, it's a sign that there are generational curses that need to be broken. Have you noticed patterns that repeat in your family? Illnesses that pass from father to son, relationships that always end badly, financial difficulties that haunt the entire lineage. This is not coincidence, it is generational curse. But today, you will learn to break these chains once and for all. They also surrounded me with words of hatred and fought against me without cause. Often curses come disguised as words. People who speak ill of your family out of envy, who decree failure upon your children, who wish for your downfall because of your progress. Every evil word spoken against your household has spiritual power, but this psalm cancels every decree of darkness. In return for my love they accuse me, but I give myself to prayer. The response to attacks is not carnal retaliation, but spiritual warfare through powerful prayer. When you declare this psalm, you are canceling in the spiritual dimension every evil work directed against your family. May his days be few, may another take his place. This is a prophetic declaration against every evil spirit that has tried to rule over your family. Every spirit of poverty, of infirmity, of family destruction. Their days are numbered when you declare this psalm with authority. May this be the Lord's payment to my accusers, to those who speak evil against me. God personally takes responsibility for repaying those who attack your family. You don't need to seek revenge, you don't need to worry. When you declare this psalm, you are placing the situation in the hands of the supreme judge who never loses a case. I have seen entire families transformed after declaring this psalm for 21 consecutive days. Patterns of failure that lasted generations were broken in weeks. Curses that seemed impossible to overcome dissolved like smoke before the power of the word. If your family has faced recurring negative patterns, declare in the comments, "Every generational curse is broken over my family by the power of Psalm 109. Stay with me, because the fourth psalm will establish an angelic covering over every member of your family. The fourth psalm, Psalm 34, the angelic protection. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him and delivers them. This is the psalm that activates angelic protection over your family. When you declare this psalm with faith, you are summoning angels to stand guard around every member of your household. It's not symbolism, it's spiritual reality. Real angels begin to patrol your residence, accompany your children, protect your paths. I will bless the Lord at all times. His praise will continually be in my mouth. Angelic protection is activated through constant praise. When your home becomes a place of worship, the angels feel at home and establish a permanent encampment. The spiritual environment completely changes when praise is constant. My soul will boast in the Lord. The humble will hear it and rejoice. Angels are attracted by humility and glorification of God. When you recognize that your protection comes from the Lord and not from your own strength, you are creating the spiritual conditions for angels to intervene in your situation. Seek the Lord, and he will answer you. He will deliver you from all your fears. Every fear you feel for your family's safety, every anxiety about your children's future, every worry about spiritual attacks, all of this is dissolved when you seek the Lord through this psalm. The young lions suffer want and hunger, but those who seek the Lord lack no good thing. This is the promise of total provision for your family. Not just protection from evil, but supply for all needs. When angels encamp around your home, they bring heaven's blessings along with protection. Draw near to him and be enlightened, and your faces will not be ashamed. The angelic presence brings spiritual clarity to your family. Mental confusion, difficult decisions, unclear directions, all of this is resolved when you live under angelic covering activated through this psalm. This poor man cried, and the Lord heard him and saved him out of all his troubles. No matter how difficult your situation, how impossible the protection of your family may seem in the face of the attacks you are facing, when you cry out through this psalm, God hears and sends angels to resolve every distress. The eyes of the Lord are upon the righteous, and his ears are open unto their cry. You are not alone in the battle for your family's protection. God's eyes are constantly upon you, watching every threat, anticipating every attack, preparing every deliverance. If you want to activate angelic protection over your family, write in the comments, "The angel of the Lord encamps around my family and delivers us from all evil." Take a deep breath, because the fifth psalm will give you authority to spiritually seal your home against all evil invasion. The fifth psalm, Psalm 121, the permanent divine watch. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, which made heaven and earth. This is the psalm of permanent divine watch over your family. When you declare this psalm, you are establishing that God has personally taken responsibility to watch over your home, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. There is no moment when your family is unprotected. I know the anguish of those who need to go to work and leave their family at home, of those who have children going out alone and you worry, of those who sleep but wish they could stay on watch all night. This psalm resolves that anguish because it establishes that God is the permanent watchman of your house. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Every step your family takes is being observed and protected by God. Your children will not stumble into temptations, will not fall into traps, will not be caught off guard by the enemy's attacks. God himself is taking care of every movement. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. While you sleep, God remains awake, taking care of your family. While you are at work, he is watching over your home. While you cannot be present, he is never absent. This is the promise of uninterrupted divine watch. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. God doesn't just watch from afar. He walks beside every member of your family like a protective shadow. Wherever they go, God's presence accompanies them as personalized protection. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. This means protection against daytime and nighttime attacks. During the day, when the pressures of the world try to hit your family, they are protected. During the night, when fears and oppressions try to manifest, they remain safe. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. This is the most comprehensive promise, total protection against every form of evil. Not just some types of attacks, but all evil that tries to touch your family will be blocked by divine watch. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth, and even forevermore. Every time someone in your family leaves home and returns, they are under divine protection. Every trip, every walk, every movement is covered by God's watch. And this protection is not temporary, it is forever. When you declare this psalm over your family, you are establishing a covenant of eternal protection. You are placing every name under God's personal watch. You are activating a divine security system that never fails, never slumbers, never gets distracted. If you want to establish permanent divine watch over your family, declare in the comments, "The Lord is the keeper of my family and protects us day and night forever." Don't stop now, because the 6th Psalm will give you power to break every psychological and emotional attack directed against your family. The 6th Psalm, Psalm 23, the emotional and psychological healing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. This is the psalm of deep emotional healing for your family. When traumas, fears, anxieties, depressions try to attack the members of your household, this psalm brings the healing that comes from the heart of God. It not only protects against external attacks, but heals the internal wounds that can open gaps for evil. How many times have you seen someone in your family suffering inside and didn't know how to help? Silent depression, gnawing anxiety, paralyzing fears, unhealed traumas. This psalm is the divine remedy for all emotional pain. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters. When the mind is troubled, when the heart is wounded, when emotions are in turmoil, God guides your family to places of emotional rest. The peace that surpasses all understanding settles when this psalm is declared in faith. He restores my soul. He guides me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Weary souls are refreshed, confused minds find direction, wounded hearts experience healing. This psalm activates the emotional and psychological restoration process that your family needs. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. Even in the darkest moments of family life, serious illnesses, losses, financial crises, betrayals, this psalm establishes that God is present to comfort and strengthen. Fear loses its power when you know you are not alone. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. While the enemy tries to destroy your family, God prepares blessings in the presence of the very attacks. Where there should be scarcity, there is abundance. Where there should be sadness, there is joy. Where there should be defeat, there is victory. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. This is the promise that goodness and mercy will follow your family every day. Not just some days, but all days. Not just in some situations, but in all of life. It is a decree of permanent blessing. I have seen families completely transformed emotionally after declaring this psalm daily. Children who were depressed started smiling again. Marriages that were cold regained intimacy. Homes that were heavy regained joy. If your family needs emotional and psychological healing, declare in the comments, "The Lord is the shepherd of my family and guides us to still waters and green pastures." Prepare your heart, because now comes the 7th and most powerful psalm, the one that seals all the others and establishes definitive protection against any forces of darkness. The 7th Psalm, Psalm 144, the total and definitive victory. Blessed be the Lord my rock, who trains my hands for war and my fingers for battle. This is the psalm of total victory over all forces trying to destroy your family. Here you are no longer just defending yourself, you are declaring total war against the kingdom of darkness and decreeing definitive victory over all evil. When you reach this 7th psalm, you have already established protection with the previous 6. Now you declare that your family is not only protected but victorious, conquering more than conquerors in Christ Jesus. He is my goodness and my fortress, my high tower and my deliverer, my shield, in whom I trust, who subdues my people under me. Your family is no longer on the defensive but on the offensive, no longer fleeing from evil, but making evil flee, no longer being attacked, but attacking the works of darkness with divine authority. Lord, what is man that you take knowledge of him? What is mankind that you are mindful of them, a son of man that you care for him? Even while recognizing your human fragility, you understand that God has chosen to use your family as an instrument of spiritual warfare, not by merit but by love and grace. They are like a breath. Their days are like a fleeting shadow. Life is fragile, but God's protection is eternal. Therefore, you cannot waste time without using these spiritual weapons. Every day without declaring these psalms is a day of unnecessary vulnerability. Part your heavens, Lord, and come down. Touch the mountains so that they smoke. You are asking God to manifest His power visibly in your family's situation. Not just discreet protection, but a clear demonstration of divine power that makes the enemies retreat. Shoot your arrows and scatter them. Send your lightning and rout them. Every divine lightning bolt fired against those who attack your family, every celestial arrow directed against the forces of darkness. You are invoking heavy spiritual artillery. Reach down your hand from on high, deliver me and rescue me from the mighty waters, from the hands of foreigners. When the situation seems about to submerge your family, when the attacks seem greater than your ability to withstand, God reaches out His hand from on high and produces supernatural deliverance. Then our sons in their youth will be like well-nurtured plants, and our daughters will be like pillars carved to adorn a palace. This is the prophetic promise about your family's future. Your sons will grow strong like well-tended plants, your daughters will be valuable like precious stones. No matter how they are now, this is the future decreed by God. That our barns may be filled with every kind of provision, that our flocks may increase by thousands, by tens of thousands in our fields. Financial abundance, material prosperity, growth in all areas. Your family will not only be protected, it will be abundantly blessed. Blessed is the people whose God is the Lord. This is the final declaration. Your family is blessed because you have chosen the Lord as God. All the promises of the 7 Psalms apply because you belong to the kingdom of God. If you want to seal all these promises over your family, declare now in the comments, "My family is more than a conqueror, and all the promises of the 7 Psalms are fulfilled over us." Now listen with full attention, because I will give you the specific instructions on how to use these 7 Psalms to create an unbreakable spiritual shield around your family. First, you must declare the 7 Psalms in sequence, 1 per day, for 7 consecutive weeks. Each psalm has a specific power, but when used in sequence they create a progressive spiritual fortress that becomes stronger each day. Monday, Psalm 91, Absolute Protection. Tuesday, Psalm 18, Deliverance from Enemies. Wednesday, Psalm 109, Breaking of Curses. Thursday, Psalm 34, Angelic Protection. Friday, Psalm 121, Divine Watchfulness. Saturday, Psalm 23, Emotional Healing. Sunday, Psalm 144, Total Victory. Second, you must declare each psalm not just by reading, but by decreeing with authority. It is not passive prayer, it is a declaration of spiritual warfare. Your voice must carry faith, authority, and holy indignation against all evil that dares to touch your family. Third, while declaring each psalm, visualize each member of your family being covered by that specific protection. See your children, your spouse, your parents, all enveloped by the power of that psalm. Fourth, after declaring each psalm, you must anoint the doors of your home with oil, declaring that entrance sealed against all evil forces. If you don't have anointing oil, use common olive oil consecrated through prayer. Fifth, maintain a constant atmosphere of praise in your home. Play Christian music, speak in tongues, declare scriptures. Angels are drawn by praise and repelled by a worldly atmosphere. Sixth, fast 1 day a week, while completing this 49-day sequence. Fasting breaks the most resistant spiritual strongholds and gives extra power to your declarations. 7th, write the names of all your family members and place them under the open Bible at Psalm 91. Leave them there for the 49 days as a prophetic act of protection. 8th, if during these 49 days you notice more intense attacks, do not stop. It is a sign that it is working and the enemy is desperate. Intensify the declarations, increase prayer time. Gather other brothers to pray together. 9th, upon completing the 49 days, you must reconsecrate your home to the Lord. Invite the pastor, Christian family members, pray together, and declare that this house is now holy territory, inviolable by evil. 10th, maintain the habit of declaring at least one of these psalms every day for the rest of your life. Spiritual protection is not automatic. It must be maintained through constant spiritual discipline. But beware, if you start this sequence and do not finish it, you may be opening even greater gaps in your family's protection. It is like starting to build a wall and leaving gaps. The enemy can use these openings for even more intense attacks. Therefore, before starting, you must be determined to go all the way. This is not a game, it is real spiritual warfare. Your family is depending on you to establish this protection. If you fail, those you love most will pay the price. I have seen families completely transformed through this sequence. Marriages that were ending were restored. Addicted children were set free. Chronic illnesses disappeared. Financial difficulties were resolved. But I have also seen people who started and did not finish face even worse attacks. The choice is yours. You can continue living in fear for your family, sleeping poorly, thinking about the dangers surrounding them, feeling helpless in the face of spiritual attacks, or you can take authority right now and establish a divine protection that will completely transform the spiritual atmosphere of your home. If you are determined to protect your family using these 7 psalms, write in the comments, "I take authority now and begin today the sequence of the 7 psalms to protect my family." But there is something more you need to know, and this will determine whether this protection will be temporary or permanent in your life. The power of these psalms is not only in the words, but in the spiritual condition of the one declaring them. If you live in sin, if you have unforgiven grudges, if you maintain habits that displease God, your spiritual authority becomes limited and the psalms lose power. Therefore, before starting the sequence, you need to do a complete spiritual cleansing in your life. Confess every sin, forgive every offense, abandon every habit you know displeases God. You cannot live like a sinner and expect protection like a saint. Second, you need to establish a life of real intimacy with God, not just using the Psalms as magic formulas, but cultivating a genuine relationship through daily prayer, Bible reading, regular fasting, and constant fellowship. Third, your entire family needs to be spiritually aligned. It is no use for you to pray if your spouse is opening gaps through soap operas full of witchcraft, violent movies, worldly music, ungodly relationships. The whole house needs to be consecrated. Fourth, you need to maintain a life of generosity and service to the kingdom. Tithes up to date, voluntary offerings, service in the church, help to the needy. Divine protection is linked to complete obedience and faithfulness. Fifth, you must distance yourself from anything that could give spiritual legality for the enemy to attack your family. Objects from false religions, occult books, friendships with people involved in mystical practices, places where demonic manifestations occur. Sixth, establish a discipline of constant spiritual watchfulness. Don't just pray when there are problems, but maintain a posture of permanent spiritual warfare, always alert, always declaring victory, always decreeing protection. If you're not willing to make these adjustments in your life, it's better not to even begin the sequence of the 7 Psalms. It would be like building a house on sand. At the first strong spiritual storm, everything would collapse. But if you're determined to pay the price of a holy life to see your family protected, then prepare to witness miracles. Prepare to see the power of God manifesting visibly in your home. Prepare for a transformation that will mark your family forever. I know families that were being destroyed, and today are examples of victory because someone had the courage to take spiritual authority and establish divine protection. I know parents who were desperate watching their children going astray and today see those same children serving God because someone fought in the spiritual dimension. The difference between destroyed families and victorious families isn't luck, isn't social status, isn't education level. It's spiritual authority. It's someone in the family who knows the weapons of spiritual warfare and has the courage to use them. Today you discovered the 7 most powerful weapons that exist to protect a family. You discovered how to use them in sequence to create an impregnable spiritual fortress. You discovered the necessary conditions for them to work with maximum power. Now you need to decide if you'll just be another person who heard a nice message, or if you'll be the spiritual warrior your family needs. If you'll continue living with fear and anxiety, or if you'll take authority and establish real divine protection. Your family is waiting. God is waiting. The angels are waiting to receive battle orders. The forces of darkness are trembling because they know you've discovered the weapons that can destroy them. What will you do with this revelation? End. If this revelation about the 7 most powerful psalms to protect your family touched your heart, and you recognize that you need this spiritual authority over your home, share it with someone who's also fighting to protect those they love. Leave a like, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so we can build an army of faith under the leadership of Jesus Christ.